Hey everybody, welcome back to Carnivore Live. I'm glad you guys can make it. If it's your first time joining us tonight on this new night, we are glad you made it. Hope everything is going well. And as you can see, we're adding to the roster. We got our guest with us tonight, Dr. Anthony Chafee. Sir, we are fortunate to have you with us tonight, and I'm excited to be able to cover some stuff and talk about some stuff. And it's like a party, man. I always have fun uh, with these guys, and it's no different, man. Just jump in and we'll get some questions. I do ask that everybody, if you have a question, please, as always, put a Q by it in the comments, and we will try to look out for it. But how you guys doing, man? Y'all doing all right today?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Doing
real good.
well, doing well.
Awesome, awesome. If we can keep everything, my head in the game, and Kip's internet going, and everything else, we just linked Tokyo and Australia, Perth and Alabama and South Carolina. We're putting internet to the test, so uh, we'll see how it works out. If you guys will go ahead and like and subscribe to the channels wherever you're watching it from, and be mindful though, if you're wherever you're watching it from, you're not going to see the comments from the other channels. So bear with us as we do with that. But like it wherever you're viewing it at, so it can be pushed out. Oh
Okay.
man. So what's
No,
what's going on, Dave?
been a busy week, but things are going good. I'm very glad to be here with you guys, and feels a little bit different. It's Saturday morning here for me, so it feels a little bit different doing this on Saturday morning, but I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
How are you doing, Kip?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here with y'all. It's great to continue to be on this journey and continue to get better health each and every day. It really is a pleasure to be here. What about you, Dr. Chafee?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, thanks for everyone sort of adjusted. For me, I wasn't available tomorrow, so thanks everyone for adjusting this. And yeah, everything's good on this side.
Awesome. Awesome. Man, I'm excited. Before we get started into the questions with everybody else, I had a question for you, and I was going to send it to you. I don't know if I sent it all the way through, but I told the person that I would ask. So I will ask your Dr. Chafee experience, and if you had any information about what was it? Let me just read it, because otherwise I really want to know if you've had any patients suffering from Meniere's disease. And I think I said that right. And have they been helped by the carnivore animal-based diets? I don't know. The person asked me. I'm not sure if they knew if I knew what it was. But have you come across anything like that, or seen any cases of that?
Um, yes, I mean yes. So I haven't personally had a patient with Meniere's, which is if I remember, it's just tinnitus. You're having big nasty ringing in your ears, and it's very 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 distracting and horrible. I haven't had anybody specifically that I've treated with that, but I've had many people with tinnitus from whatever reason say that that has improved dramatically, and that's something that we're commonly seeing people that do improve. So there are different causes for all of these different issues. Not all of them are going to be fixed by dietary interventions, but it does seem that a lot of them can. So yeah, I have seen that. I have seen people get better with their tinnitus. I can't guarantee that everyone's going to get better with it. It really just depends on what the underlying cause is and what's contributing to it. But there's so much inflammation. There's so much different sorts of things in the food that we eat that are going to contribute to inflammation, and that can contribute to tinnitus and many other things. And so it's definitely well worth a try, and hopefully it helps. If it doesn't, there's 1,000 other things that it's going to help with as well, so it's still going to be worth it.
Absolutely. Good deal. Yeah, and I'm sure, like she mentioned some surgery that she's had and some other things in autoimmune disorder, and like I've heard of a lot of examples with the autoimmune, whether it's Hashimoto's or plenty of other things that people have had success with the carnivore diet. So, you know, if you give yourself the proper nutrient, I hate to say it, it almost sounds repetitive. If you put the right nutrients in, that's the best shot we've got at fixing, you know, whatever we can fix. So,
Yeah.
we do have a super chat already. Let's see here. John asks, how do you know if your fat intake is high enough? Dave, what do you think about that?
I just kind of I measure it just simply by going, is it comfortable when I go to the bathroom? You know, am I passing things comfortably? And you know, it gets too high when it's, you know, when it's coming out too easily.
Yeah.
Kipp or Dr. Chevy, you got any thoughts on that?
I would say for me, for example, this is TMI, but today I had that very issue. Whenever I ate my dinner, I put too much beef tallow in it, and I just lathered it up, and it got me on the way out. And it's just like maybe I need to take the fat back down a little bit. What about you, Dr. Chafee?
Yeah, no, I agree. So if you know your body has a limited capacity to absorb fat, and so once you've reached that capacity, it has to come out, right? And so I think of that as being exactly what you want. I don't think our bodies, you know, made a mistake on how much bile that it's made. You know, it doesn't just do those things by accident. Your body, really, really tightly regulates so many things in your body. I mean, there's just billions of different things. They're just so tightly regulated. I don't think they just you know, eyeballed this one. And so I think that your body wants a certain amount of fat, and that's why it makes that certain amount of bile. And then after that, it's really hard to absorb fat. So I think you want to satisfy your body's ability, you know, your body's desire to get that fat. And so I agree. If you are having dry, hard stools, that means your body's absorbing every ounce of fat that you're putting into it, and nothing else is getting out. So maybe you're getting exactly the right amount, but you know, that's just a guess. So if you're getting a bit of overflow and that fat's getting into your stools, that's going to keep your stools soft. And then, you know, you're saturating. Well, you should have a very good impression that you're saturating your body's ability to absorb fat. It's very difficult for your body to absorb fat without bile, a little bit, but not much. And the other thing is the tallow. Some people find that goes through them a bit quicker. And so some people find they'll have loose stools, even though they're like reducing fat, and they're still having that problem. And they find that if you just eat more, you know, solid fat, like cellular fat, that's a fat still in the cellular matrix, it takes a while for your body to break that down and release the oils, and then your body has more of a chance to absorb that. So some people that have problems with loose stools, even though they've been reducing fat and get rid of coffee, get rid of tea, get rid of artificial sweeteners and all the other laxatives, they find that helps them too. So yeah, I agree with that as well.
Awesome. Well, and that's one thing that I've seen too, as far as the fat, even after losing the weight that I've lost, I've added fat to my diet throughout the last year and a half. Lost 245 pounds, but I've added fat to it all. I eat a fatty ribeye as it is and added butter to it because I like butter, but nevertheless, oh my goodness, you got a tat. Yeah. What is that? A tat cat got you, boy.
Yeah, it's a Sphinx. It's a hairless cat that my girlfriend and I got. So he's just it was his morning time, so he's like awake and wanting to attack things and explore. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Fancy says, I'm on my 3rd week of BBB and E. Now, the last 3 days, I'm staying hungry. Why? Dr. Chafee, you want to take that one?
Oh, if you're hungry, then your body just wants more. You know, you're stimulating your body. You're giving it a lot of nutrients and nutrition, and you're going to ramp up your metabolism. You know, when we chronically restrict the amount of food and nutrition that we're putting in our bodies, it will suppress your metabolism, and that's not a good thing. And that actually, you know, if you talk to bariatric surgeons, you know, that do bypass surgery, they will tell you, and they inform their patients quite often that or at least the ones I know, will inform their patients that if you eat less than, say, 1,200 calories for a woman, you cannot lose weight. You will not lose weight. So you're eating less food, and you're putting on weight or you're not losing weight, right? So you're suppressing your metabolism, and so that's what's happening now. So you're eating as much as you're eating presumably as much as your body wants, and that's stimulating your body to want more and say, hey, we're not in a famine anymore. You don't have to, trim sails and weather the storm. We can actually do something here, and you can ramp up your metabolism and use more. And so that's what you're experiencing now. Your body wants more, so give it more, and good things will happen.
Absolutely.
And that's with the caveat that you're not on any sort of medications and things like that could change that. Some people are on different medications that can ramp up your hunger signals and things like that. But this is something you've been doing this for a few weeks, and now your hunger's gone up. I'm assuming that you haven't started a new medication during that time.
Awesome. Let's see. Terry asked, "Are tracking macros necessary? And if so, which app is the most basic?" I'll be honest with you. I have not tracked anything, and that's what was so attractive to me with the carnivore diet to begin with. Was Dr. Chafee and Dr. Berry and all these doctors talking about this way of eating and how nutritious it was, and at the same time, I don't have to count calories. I don't have to, like, when I get hungry, I eat. Whenever I'm not hungry, I don't eat, and it really has been that simple. The only thing I tracked was my weight loss down and down and down as it happened over the time, or my lab values. So I don't track. If it makes you feel better, you can. I mean, I don't know that I hear people in the community talking about those the apps where they track carb metrics or something like that that they track with. But honestly, if you don't put carbs in, you just stick to the ruminant animals and meat, you really don't have to worry about that. So, well, I don't, so, hey, Kipp, what do you think about that? You track, man?
Well, I have Native American heritage, so my ancestors, they tracked their macros. They did it one buffalo at a time,
Come on
and
now.
so that's the only macros that I'm worried about. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I like you guys. Yeah, I don't do any tracking. It's just entirely intuitive. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm not hungry, I don't eat, and I don't worry about it as long as I'm not adding carbohydrate in there. Yeah. That's
I like that idea of tracking macros, through the bush and then eating them. that's great. Yeah, well, I mean, I use the same app that most lions use, and koalas, and the Inuit, right? So I mean, you shouldn't have to use an app. I mean, we didn't have apps up until a few years ago, right? So how were people figuring out how to eat? How, I've never seen a koala pull out a calculator to figure out his macros, right? So, if they are eating what they're naturally supposed to eat, they have just natural signals. We should be able to do the same. And so if you're not able to do that, if you have to have an app, if you have to use a calculator, that tells you you're eating the wrong thing. It should be intuitive. You should be able to do it intuitively. And so if you're not doing it intuitively, then you're eating something wrong that's messing with your signals. So you just eat meat, you eat it until it stops tasting good. And that's pretty much it. And you live your life and enjoy your time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just like in the group that I'm part of and have been part of, what I've seen them do a lot of times is people get distracted by the food aversions whenever they're switching to this way of eating. And really, honestly, I know in my case, I feel like that was my body saying, you've had enough to eat. Stop trying to eat. Schedule your meals 3 times a day and whatnot. So, listening to your ghrelin and your leptin and getting those hunger signals working correctly, is important, and giving it the proper human nutrition is going to be the best way to do that. Oh, Texas Donna. Can initial weight gain be from the body trying to get renourished? I have put some weight on but feel okay. I'm short and would like to drop 30th. Dave, what you think?
I'm as not a doctor, I'm gonna put it out there that I think probably when you're getting started, your body is probably prioritizing nourishment and what it needs to do as you're eating healthier food, and like putting weight on might be a thing your body needs to do before the weight comes off, before you get back to some homeostatic level. Yeah. Kip, your thoughts?
I can only speak from my experience, and in my experience, I never dealt with that, so I'll have to go with what Dr. Anthony Chafee says, because me, as soon as I started dropping weight. Like, I looked at the scale and I was down like 7 pounds the first week probably. So, I'm not the guy. What do you think, Dr. Chafee?
Yeah, well, most people, do find, well, when people have a weight to lose, they find that they do lose it pretty quickly. That's the majority of people. I mean, I'm well over 90% of, probably 99%. It is rare that someone would put on weight, but it does happen. And generally it's because people have been doing yo-yo dieting and sort of restrictive eating, and, which a lot of people do. Some people, it affects a bit more differently. Their hormones get a bit out of whack. And the ones that I've seen clinically that I've had in my practice, I've noticed that they all had extraordinarily highly elevated leptins. Leptin is a satiety hormone, but it's also, you get leptin resistance, and you have a very, very difficult time losing weight. And it's also a sort of a cornerstone hormone for all your other hormones as well. It sets off a lot of cascades and your different hormones and things like that. So it's very, very important. It's very important to have it in proper balance as well. And I've found that some people will have very, very high elevated leptins, and they find it difficult at first to lose weight. Also, you need to think about, are you losing weight, or do you want to actually lose fat? That's what we're talking about. We're losing fat, and the weight on the scale doesn't necessarily equate to fat you're losing, because you're also going to put on muscle, you're going to put on bone density, and so that's going to offset that. So I was like Kip, I lost weight pretty quickly early on just by dropping vegetables. I wasn't even eating carbohydrates, just dropping vegetables. I lost 23 pounds in 10 days, right? So, but after that, I lost no weight, none. I stayed exactly the same weight for months and months and months. And that's because I was working out a lot, and I was replacing fat with muscle. So my body was changing dramatically, but my weight stayed the same. That's probably, in some cases that's not necessarily going to happen, but a lot of, people will see a stall. They'll say, well, I'm not losing weight. What's going on? And usually those are the ones that are like working out a lot. Well, you're going to be building muscle. It's far easier to build muscle on a carnivore diet than any other diet I've ever been on. And so you're going to be putting on muscle. So if you're not losing weight, you're definitely losing fat, because you have to be putting on muscle if you're working out like that. But there are some people that really don't lose fat. And Kelly Hogan was one of these people. For 6 months, she didn't lose any fat. She might have even put on fat. And then something happened, and her hormones probably normalized and regulated, and all of a sudden it just started shedding off. But it took her about 6 months, but she just focused on her health, and she was feeling so much better, and her her health was improved in so many ways that she was just like, well, I have to keep doing this, because it's really important. And she just sort of trusted it, and eventually, she started losing weight, and she's been very slender ever since. There are some people that have very high leptins that lose weight just fine. So there's something else going on. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I'm still figuring it out. But I have seen elevated leptin. So in any case, it just comes down to the fact that you probably have a hormonal imbalance, and something else is going on, and it's just going to take time. It's just going to take time for that to heal. Some people, if they've been restricting their eating for a long time, their metabolism is going to be very, very low and suppressed, like we said earlier. And so, you're going to notice that, like those yo-yo diets, when you restrict and you fast and you limit yourself for so long, you suppress your metabolism, then you start eating exactly the same thing that you were eating before, and you slam on much more weight than you had lost. Right. And so that's why, because you're suppressing your metabolism. So just do what, our previous question was, which was, wait, why is my appetite going up? Well, your metabolism is going up. So give that a chance. So keep eating, keep giving yourself everything that your body, everything it needs. Let it know that you're not in a famine, that there isn't a shortage of food, and your metabolism will come up, your hormones will regulate, and eventually you will start losing fat. For sure. It may take a while. You may be that 1% of people that it takes 6 months or even a year, but your health will improve the whole time. You'll feel better. You'll have better energy. You'll be able to exercise. You'll be able to be more active. Jesus Christ. And eventually, the weight will come, and so just be patient. But first and foremost, focus on your health, because that's really what's the most important thing here.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. I want to give a shout out to Angelo. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you guys, man. I tell people all the time, the generosity of you guys is important to us. It does help at, wherever you're donating. We sure do appreciate that when you guys do that as well. Everybody, all the people that I like to work with, that I try to get on and do stuff with the most, they have a heart for this stuff. It's not just about, trying to have a business and those kinds of things. And I think that's clearly evident in the lives of these guys, man, what they're doing and the work that they do. And it's awesome. And so you guys investing into all of us, that's incredible. And I appreciate it every time. John asked, Dr. Chafee, I love my coffee and can never see giving it up. Why is it not good to consume coffee? And is it really that bad? Brace yourselves, boys and girls.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, everything's relative, right? Is it the worst thing in the world? No. And if it brings you pleasure and you like it, then, that's great. I mean, it does have, different sorts of defense chemicals, the different lectins and tannins and oxalates and all these, phytates and all these sorts of things. So it has these things in them. That's an objective reality. And, and so, and I mean, even caffeine is a neurotoxin. It was developed as an insecticide millions and millions of years ago to kill insects that are trying to eat it, right? So it has these defense chemicals, and that can affect you in negative ways. If you enjoy the positive aspects, you enjoy that little bit of energy boost in the morning or whenever, and you just enjoy the ritual of it, the social aspect of it. These are all things that are positive in people's lives, then, by all means, go for it. I think that it's probably good policy to stop it for 30 days, see how you feel, and then maybe trial it back in and see what the actual effects are, what the actual differences are. So objectively what that's doing to you. For me, I feel much better when I don't drink coffee. I have 1 cup of coffee. I don't get sore after I work out. It doesn't matter how hard I work out. It doesn't matter how long it's been in between workouts. I do not get sore. Then I have 1 cup of coffee. I'm sore for 2 days. So to me, I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not dealing with that nonsense. I'm very, very, very thrilled to not be sore all the time. I was sore for 35 years of my life playing sports and working out and things like that. Like I'm very happy to not be doing that anymore. So, for me, it's not worth it. And my energy levels, I find that they're far better when I don't have the coffee. So I have some caffeine, and that's the thing too. If I were to have caffeine, very rarely that I do that. I mean, like once a year, it's probably been a couple of years since I've done that. But it's like, if I'm on call, I'm working overnight and I've just been up for 36 hours and I've got to go, into clinic or, see patients or something like that. I'm like, okay, I need something, I've done that and I've regretted it every single time because, I have a few hours of good energy. I feel good. And then the crash comes down and I just feel wretched the rest of the day. So overall, my energy levels are much, much, much better overall. Not like a quick burst and a slam. It's just that the whole time it's even, it's mellow, it's good, and I can function. And so I prefer that. But it is a preference. You take the good with the bad. So some people want to have something like that. But I would just suggest taking a month off, see how you feel, and you're going to get some coffee headaches and withdrawal headaches, presumably if you're a heavy caffeine drinker. Those will go away in a few days. And then after a couple of weeks, you'll probably feel a lot better and you'll probably have more consistent energy. And then you can just see, is that something that you want? Is that something you like? Or do you prefer having, whatever benefits the coffee give you? So it's always up to the individual.
I can assure you, man, I quit drinking coffee for 5 months when I first started eating like this, and then I added it back. And I can assure you, for me personally, that's exactly what I found. It's not that I had any more energy when I added it back in. There's something about it. I think it, and honestly, the more you talk about it, the more I think about it and second guess that answer. At least I'm giving more thought to cutting it back out. I think I was talking to Dave this past week about that. I was like, man, I got to get rid of coffee again, because it's not that it helps. I think it's just creating that addiction again to something that I don't need. So, Dave, what
I
about
wanted to
you
put
drink
a
coffee?
question in there as well. Since someone asked about coffee, I wanted to ask Dr. Chafee, what about like black pepper? Would you put it kind of similar, or would you say that black pepper's worse than coffee? Because I don't have a problem with coffee, but I do with black pepper. I love black
Mm.
pepper.
Yeah, well, black pepper is quite pro-inflammatory, and just like coffee is a bean. A bean is a seed. Black peppers are kernels; those are seeds as well. This is generally where you'll find the highest concentration of plant defense chemicals is in the seeds. Black pepper, I'm forgetting all the specifics, but yeah, it's actually more bad than other things. Is it more bad than coffee? Hard to say. It's probably going to be pretty individual. Some people are going to react more to it than others. Even just white pepper, it doesn't have as much toxins and things like that as black pepper, and just by the way it's grown and when it's picked and how it's manufactured, which is the wrong word, but it just has a bit slightly less. So black pepper, especially if you react badly to it, then yeah, definitely get rid of that. But even teas, people think, well, tea is better than coffee. Maybe it has less caffeine, but it doesn't necessarily have less defense chemicals. It's a leaf. Leaves are pretty well defended, but seeds are really well defended. So it's hard to say which one's better or worse. Just sort of see how people respond individually to them. I just like going by clean slate. I like nothing. When I have a bit of pepper on something, does it change my life? No, not really. It's just a bit off. My nose gets stuffy. I get a bit of brain fog. And it's just like, and it goes away in like 40 minutes or something like that. But it's just like, yeah, that was 40 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Like, I don't want that. It's for some pepper. Like, I just don't care enough about pepper to make that worth it.
I agree. Well, and the pepper's the one thing that gave me it's got 20 times the oxalates as white pepper, and it caused my joints to hurt like crazy. And I had eaten it. I kept it in when I started carnivore up to 5 months. The same time I added coffee back in, when I had to take black pepper out because my joints started hurting. Well, around the same time, my joints started hurting again. And once I took the black pepper out, it just went away like no big deal. But what about the coffee, Dave? You drink coffee, right?
Yeah, I drink way too much coffee. I've given up coffee before, and I know I would do much better if I gave it up. But the thing that actually stops me is I know how bad the withdrawal is going to be.
Oh yeah,
because like I just can't keep myself awake when I give it up. So it's more reason I should give it up. But yeah, it's I'm stuck with it for the moment.
absolutely. Barb says, Dr. Chafee, have you worked with any ladies with lipedema? Lipedema. I said edema. Sorry. I am doing pretty well, but I still struggle with my legs, of course.
Yeah, it's common enough, unfortunately. I've had a few patients that have just that have sort of had those sorts of problems and talk to me about it. Is this going to help and this and the other? I don't know of any studies and things like that. There's a lot of studies for keto, tons of studies for keto. There are few studies for actual carnivore, which is a keto diet. So, when I talk about carnivore, I'm meaning the ketogenic version of carnivore. I'm not talking about, eating fruit and honey and things like that. I'm assuming that that's out of the equation. So we can glean a lot of information from these keto studies because, carnivore is keto. But the fact of the matter is I don't know of any studies for keto or carnivore that will say one way or the other. But anecdotally, I have absolutely seen people improve that, but it's one of those ones that take longer. Like all autoimmune issues I've seen improve on a carnivore diet. Hashimoto's is one that improves, but it takes a lot longer to get resolution, like over a year sometimes. And lipedema is one of those things that it can take quite a long time before it starts improving. And so, but just a hopeful message is that yes, I've seen a lot of people improve on that. So it's just something to to give a try and see how it makes you feel. And you're going to improve in a lot of other ways. And I would expect that to improve down the track as well.
Absolutely. Hey, Liz. Good to see you, friend. Question, Dr. Chafee. Freak accident that Carnivore handled the last symptoms of my endometriosis, painful menstrual cycles. Didn't come to Carnivore for that. How could this be?
Well, so it's going to regulate your hormones. Your hormones are going to improve. Your estrogen and progesterone are going to, go into balance, which is very, very important for your cycles. And, generally estrogen levels increase and testosterone levels decrease in women, especially when you get rid of carbohydrates, because carbohydrates raise insulin. Insulin blocks the conversion of testosterone into estrogen in your ovaries, right? So you're going to get too high testosterone, too low estrogen. That's going to be out of balance with your progesterone, and that's going to play merry hell with your cycle, right? And so that's great that you notice that. I've sort of seen a mixed bag with endometriosis. I've certainly seen people, improve, certainly symptomatically, because it's going to reduce a lot of inflammation as well, which reduces pain. It just reduces your experience of pain. If something is, if you have an injury or you have, arthritis or something like that, you're just going to experience less pain because there's less inflammation there. And so, endometriosis is very much hormonally driven. And so this is going to improve your hormones, going to optimize your hormones. And so that can definitely improve that, and also reduce your inflammation. That will also improve your symptomatic expression of things like endometriosis. So that's really great that you've improved on that.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Dr. Chafee, thank you. You have been a huge help to me on the new carnivore journey, 6 weeks. I'll be 62 in a few days, getting in shape, but I have really hard time getting up to sleep, averaging 6 hours. Advice?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're doing so well. And sleep is most people do better on sleep. Maybe you guys can share your experiences as well. My sleep certainly has improved dramatically, but there are other things that do help. I mean, these are just the classic things that we know about, that we've sort of figured out before this, which is go to bed at the same time every night, turn off lights an hour before you go to sleep. You can get those blue blocking sunglasses and things like that can help drown out that stimulus to wake the hell up. You get that blue light in your eyes are just telling you, it's just telling your brain, wake up, the sun's out. And and so doing that consistently, then wearing a sleep mask, even a little bit of light, even just the light on your phone charging will disturb your sleep. And there have been plenty of studies showing that it disturbs sleep, and it disrupts the sleep cycles and things like that. You don't get down into the deep sleep states, just a little bit of light in the room. So you can get the same amount of sleep, and you won't be nearly as rested. So I've found that the sleep mask, that just changed my life. I just love that thing now. And it's also really good too, because it's just a somatic signal to your body that's just like, it's time to go to sleep. You put that sleep mask on, your body's just like, right, it's lights out. It's time to go to bed. So those are the things that you can do. And that's what I would do. I would just make it consistent. I'd make it, this routine, just the same thing, like clockwork every time, and optimize your sort of peri-sleep state, and that should help. Then there are other things, if that's not quite enough, taking a small dose of melatonin or something at the same time every single night, 1 hour before you want to be asleep, with the lights off. Melatonin doesn't work if the lights are on. And so that's another thing. People have all these lights on. We're just blaring, light all over the place, this unnatural light. And then we try to turn off the lights and go to bed. And we go, why can't I go to sleep? Because you've just destroyed all melatonin. You can't even secrete it until those lights are off and gone. And so that's what I would do.
Kipp, wake up, man. Are you over there tracking, dude?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm tracking the buffalo still.
Yeah.
Nah,
What? So a lot of people might not know, Kipp, man. How much have you lost now? Because he started in January of this year. I know it's past 82 because it was there. So where you at now, buddy?
right. Well, I was 400 at my highest. I was 492, but January I was 486, and today I weighed and I was 401. So I'm about to be in the 300 club, and I'm really excited about it.
Nice.
Congrats.
Awesome.
So
What's-
I'm down to 85 pounds.
What's one of the biggest things that you've seen that you weren't expecting when you came to Carnivore, Kipp?
The pain that was in my right shoulder, it went away within like 2 weeks time, and it used to want to lock up on me, and I didn't have any strength in it. And I had went to physical therapist, and I'd went to orthopedic specialist, and they had said all kind of stuff like I had arthritis in it, and I was kind of bone on bone, and eventually I'd need a replacement, and they said I had bone spurs. And then suddenly 2 weeks after I started carnivore, it just stopped hurting. And I knew then, I was like, even if I don't lose a lot of weight, 'cause I knew I needed to lose a ton of weight, but even if I didn't lose a bunch of weight, that alone, the pain in my shoulder being gone, was worth it to me to just keep going.
What about you, Dave? Man, what's the one thing that you've noticed? And I mean, I know you guys talk about it, but since we got everybody from every channel, whatever, coming together, and whatever, it's worth
I
mentioning
think
again.
biggest thing for me was probably the arthritis clearing up in my knee. And that's just changed everything, because you don't have the pain when you're walking. When you kneel down, you don't have that pain anymore. Like, that's one of the memories that stays with me, that kind of subconscious things, is when I go to kneel down now, I still kind of jerk back going, this is going to hurt. But then, I have to keep going, no, it's not going to hurt. It's okay. So kneeling down, crossing my legs, that kind of thing, all that's just like when I was a teenager now. It's awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Dr. Chafee? What's one of the best things that as far as that you've seen and eating this way since you've been eating a lot of this?
Well, yeah. Well, for me, I mean, just right away. I mean, I just it's hard to sort of say exactly what it was, but I just felt so much better. I just 2 weeks into it, I just felt like a different breed of human. My body worked differently. I had tons of energy. I just felt so good. Whereas normally I just sort of had just baseline level of garbage that I felt, and I didn't really feel great. And I was 38, so I'm like, oh gosh, I'm getting into like middle age, like all this sort of stuff. And just within 2 weeks, it was just gone. It's just everything gone. I felt like I was 22 again doing carnivore. I felt better at 38 than I did at 28 playing professional rugby and working out all the time. And I just felt amazing. And my body worked great. My back pain was gone. I didn't have joint pain. It was just like, I just felt like a kid again. And I was just like, right, it's time to go to play some rugby. And I just went right back out. So it was just physically how I felt, mentally how I felt. My, brain fog was gone. When I was studying for the MCATs, I, for some damn reason, that was probably the one time in my life that I wasn't like just eating just tons and tons of meat. I found it was just very easy and quick just to cook some like pasta. I was like, oh yeah, whole grain this thing. And I'm like, all right, I'll get some like whole grain pasta. And it was just really easy. I would just like boil up a whole thing of noodles, put some, lame ass sauce on it. And I just eat that. And I just studied. I was just studying like 14 hours a day. And so that's what I would do. And I remember I would wake up fine and wake up fresh. I'd have all this sleep and it'd be great and be studying. And then at some point, I just have all this brain fog. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why doesn't my brain work? And I remember thinking about it the whole time. I was just like, I've got enough sleep. I'm not sick. I don't know what's going on. I woke up refreshed. And now I'm just like tired and foggy. I'd take a nap in the middle of the day. And I never understood it. Gone, all gone. And I thought at the time, it was like, well, maybe it's just allergies. Well, maybe it's, the food. So, once I got rid of all that, all of it went away. My asthma went away. My eyes have been, like bloodshot red forever. And I was, oh, you high? You smoking? Like, no, asshole, I'm not. Thank you. And, it just really bugged the hell out of me. And so, now, I might get, some redness, but it's not like just just beat red all the time, which was really annoying. And most of the time, my eyes aren't red at all. So if I get really tired or something like that, or first thing in the morning, whatever. But all of these things, they just improve dramatically. And I just I had limitless energy. I was back to when I was 22, just playing, just sprinting for 8 hours a day and just feeling amazing doing it. And, just having that, just feeling that physically again was just amazing. And I still feel it, so it's just, I don't know. It's just incredible. Like I can't even put my finger on like one thing to say like, this is what it is. It's just overall my entire life and the feeling of my body changed. On a superficial note, it's never been easier in my life to maintain a low body fat percentage and a muscular physique ever. I don't work out. I don't have time to work out. And so, I go to the gym once every few weeks, maybe. And I haven't consistently gone to the gym in over a year. And yet, I look like I'm in better shape than most people who go to the gym regularly. Why is that? Well, it's because my body's working properly. I'm feeding what is supposed to be fed. And, I've worked out for decades, so I have a base there that now I've just sort of, like Michelangelo, like, there's something under all this stone. I just had to chisel away the extra bits, so all my extra bits are gone and they're not coming back because of how I'm eating. So I think all of those reasons are, those have been the most noticeable for me. I mean, I didn't have any very serious medical issues, thankfully. But that, is what I'm most impressed by, seeing my patients and, reversing things that are not supposed to be reversed, seeing a woman who I'll have on my podcast. I'll be, putting that video out in the next few weeks, who was in a wheelchair because of her MS. She was crippled. She was actually crippled. She was in her 30s. She's, and she's a PhD in science-based field, and she does a lot of high-level research, and very, very bright lady. And she was crippled. I mean, her life was basically being curtailed because of this disease. She's not only walking again and out of the wheelchair, she's back doing ballet.
What?
Right? Yeah,
That's
1 year. Right. So that's and then on MRI, her lesions, her MS lesions, they're resolving. So this is not just her subjective, like, oh, she just, drank a cup of concrete and just toughened up. No, it's just like, she's objectively improving, right? Yeah. And these lesions are healing and she's healing. And so that to me is the most amazing thing. And that's the part that I get most excited for, is when people are reversing things like that.
I just don't know. Like, I could write a book myself on stuff, and I talk about it ad nauseum with everybody on the channel. But like, and I'm not going to go into all of it because most people have heard it and some people haven't. And I promise you I'll cover it later. But like, whenever I hear stuff like that, it always makes me wonder, like, what more do people need than these experiences that they're seeing? You know what I'm saying? And I know that it's not going out to everybody. I know that there's a lot of people, and that's what drives me, is to get the message out to other folks who have not heard about this, because I was one of those people a year ago, and that drives me. And and it's a passion of mine. It's exciting to me to be able to do this from where I started to where I am, and, we could go on and on and on, but to have the testimony of someone who couldn't walk now a year later doing ballet, to have someone who, was having in that dark, deep depression come out of it. I lost 245 pounds, to have Dave, be able to do the things that he's done, and Kipp, I mean, it's amazing to hear these testimonies. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but I'm going to say it quickly because we got a lot of super chats and I'm getting really far behind, but it's okay. I'll get you. The testimonies are amazing. And I urge everybody, no matter where you're watching this from, right after you hit the like button, go down in the description and tell us what Carnivore Ketovore has done for you that you weren't expecting. Put that in the comment section for us. We'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Definitely.
Allison, just thank you for all you do. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you as well, my friend. Thank you for watching and hanging out with us tonight. Stank ass cat. My favorite doc tearing it up again. Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be talking about you. I'm not the doc tonight. No, just kidding. He's always tearing it up, man. This guy's brilliant, and I enjoy learning from him and hanging out with him, talking with him, and doing this kind of stuff, man. It's awesome. Thanks for watching and for the super chat. Question: Hi all. What do you all drink besides flat mineral water? Also, what are your thoughts on the best types of water to drink, reverse osmosis, etc.? Kit, what do you drink, man?
If you're talking types of water, I mean, where I live at, we have well water. So I'm not drinking city water, so I drink well water. And then, I mean, I will drink bottled water if that's what I got. I don't mind it. I'm not as scared of it as some people, but I mean, I understand. But besides that, I drink this stuff called LaCroix Pure. I was drinking like the flavored, not energy drinks, the flavored like sparkling waters, but kind of Sean kind of got on me about that and was saying, hey, you need to try cutting it for a little bit. So for the month of June, I've cut all that out. So mainly I just drink water, and then the sparkling water, the pure kind, it has nothing in it. What about you, Dave?
I'm just on the sparkling water, just a regular old sparkling water, nothing fancy. Yeah. And Dr. Chafee, how about you?
Yeah, just filtered water. I think that I grew up on well water actually. Just like Kipp, and that looking back, I was probably good. I didn't have any exposure to all this the city water and chemicals and fluoride and chlorine and all that sort of garbage. Probably something I want to get back to. The reverse osmosis and remineralization systems seem to do a really good job. They just strip out everything and then add back in things that you want, some different minerals and things like that. So that's probably the best if you can afford it. I mean, these are prohibitively expensive for some people. So, it's not something that everyone can do, not something that everyone has space for in their house. But, if you can do that, that's probably the best. Yeah. And, or try to get some filters that get out, fluoride and chlorine and all that other garbage that you really don't want.
Mm-hmm. I just started drinking these things. I started with Topo Chico back in February. Up until that point, I would never try them because I had tried them before, and I was like, man, it tastes like a soda like a fountain soda that ran out of syrup, man. I'm not ever putting that junk in my mouth again. I'm never tasting that stuff. And why would somebody buy that garbage? And then like I quit eating sugar, and it's like my whole world changed. It's like it tastes like a soft drink, and I know that it's not. Obviously, it's just plain unflavored, carbonated water, whatever, Topo Chico, whatever brand you want to do. I don't do the flavored stuff, but I mean, regular water does fine too. I like it. Oh, where are we at? This is for the cat. What is the cat's name?
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, that's still a work in progress. So, we named him Link at one point, and he was like, that doesn't really like fit him well. So then it was just like, then we started calling him like Blink and like Blinks. He's just, he's like a blinky cat sometimes when he's all like tired and all that sort of stuff. But realistically, his name is Little Boy because that's what we've been calling him for months because we couldn't think of a name. And so that's just sort of like, that's what he responds to. And he'll like come when you call him. So if I go and I call out, Little Boy, he'll just come running from wherever he is in the house. So like, according to him, his name is Little Boy. I think technically his name is Blinky, which is not my choice, but
you guys are developing a cat with like a multi-person, complex now. It doesn't know what. What is
yeah, I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, like his name is Little Boy, and that's what he's sort of like. If your name is what you introduce yourself as, and people call you and you respond to, his name is Little Boy. And, on paper, it may be something else, but that changes regularly. So, the consistent one is that.
Oh, man, it reminds me of my wife. Sometimes it's honey, sometimes it's deer, and sometimes it's not neither one of those.
Yeah.
Johnny said, you've all been an inspiration to me. Thank you. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you saying that. That's kind, my friend. We appreciate you being here and being able to do this journey with you, man. This community is amazing. There's no doubt about it, and I'm thankful for every one of you guys. Parker dropped in a super sticker. I appreciate you, friend. Thank you for all you're doing. Oh, Marty, the joke about the tracking is worth a super chat. Oh, absolutely. Thank you. That was awesome. Oh, Chloe Tran. Hey, friend. She says, I have 120 pounds to lose and meat just doesn't sound good to me at the moment. Should I be worried about under eating on carnivore?
Well, I'll sort of hop in there. Like, so, I mean, yes, it is a problem, can be a problem. It's easy to undereat because you don't feel hungry. But if meat doesn't sound good and meat doesn't taste good, then that might actually mean that you're not hungry. So especially if you have extra weight to lose, your body's going to prioritize that fat to lose first. And so you'll find that you don't need to eat as much. When you get down to a stable body weight, body fat percentage, like your hunger will double. You'll eat. I mean, I was eating, I'm literally eating twice as much now as I was when I was losing weight and slimming down from a body fat percentage point of view. So as soon as I hit that sort of stable body fat percentage, I just like literally just overnight, I was eating twice as much meat because now I wasn't burning through my fat stores. My body was just like, no, you need to get this in through your diet to maintain your energy levels and things like that. So that is okay. If you find that meat doesn't taste good, you don't have to eat it. That doesn't mean you have to eat other things. It just means that you're not hungry. If a steak doesn't taste good, you are not hungry.
Amen.
But if it does taste good, you are, right? So listen to that. It may not be as much as you think that you're going to that you should be having, but your body knows best. Yeah, I mean, your body, as long as you're feeding it what it's supposed to be fed, like you are going to be able to listen to your body's hunger signals. And so if meat stops tasting good, as long as it's fatty, like lean meat will start tasting boring pretty quickly. But if there's fat in there and that starts getting boring, then that's enough, and that's okay. It may not be as much as you were used to eating before, but you were eating too much before and you're eating the wrong things. So, just listen to your body. Bodies know way more than we do. They're extraordinarily complex, and like you're not going to outthink millions of years of evolution and trillions of biological interactions that are going on every second. So just give it what it needs and let it do the rest.
Thank you for the super chat, my friend. You'll get there. Stay strong and keep pushing forward. I will say that. You'll get there. John, would you gentlemen agree that you must be in a calorie deficit to lose fat?
No, I think we need to establish sort of definition in terms here as well. So, what is a calorie? A calorie is a unit of heat energy released when you burn something in a lab. So that's not how we run. We're not combustion engines, right? So a calorie is a unit of energy. It's not a unit of mass. So, this is not something that weighs anything. So calories don't weigh anything, and you can't eat calories. You're not going to swallow electricity, right? So this is chemical energy that's released when you split a bond, when you're burning things and it's releasing all this energy, right? So that does not translate directly into, fat gain and loss or anything like that. So, we are not combustion engines. We are chemical energy factories. And so, all of these nutrients are chemicals. They're complex organic chemicals, and they have complex chemical interactions in your body. There are dozens of different carbohydrates. They all have completely different chemical interactions in your body and biochemical interactions. There are dozens of different amino acids. They all have very different and complex biochemical interactions. There are hundreds of fatty acids. They all have different and complex biochemical interactions in your body. So you cannot boil these things down to just how much energy is released when you burn them. It doesn't work like that. But the way that you're describing this is like basically if you eat too much, you need to eat less than your body requires for its normal running in order to tap into your fat stores. That's a different question, right? So, and so I know what you're asking, but it is important, I think, to make those distinctions, because a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie, and so it is important what you're eating, not just how much you're eating. And so, yes, you eat more than your body demands. It's going to store things, right? But when you're on a carnivore diet, when you're eating what you're supposed to eat and you're getting those biological signals to stop eating, it's very, very, very difficult to overeat. And so your body will perfectly regulate that. Your body will regulate and tell you how much food it wants to come in, and it's going to use your own body fat, unless you're one of those 1% of people that have very deranged metabolism and hormones that just need time to heal and get normal, and then you'll start burning that stuff off. But a lot of people their body will naturally tell them, hey, this is how much we want in, and this is how much we're going to use in our savings, right? And you will start losing weight. And so in that sense, like, yeah, you're eating less than your body demands, and it's going to use some of the fat as well. But if you eat too low and you eat less than your body is demanding, you won't lose weight faster necessarily. You'll actually lower your metabolism, and you can actually stall your weight loss. And, so that's a problem too. So you want to give your body as much as it needs, and then it will figure out the rest. And so this is really the only way that you don't have to count macros and all that sort of stuff, like we said, because your body will do that for you. It will just say, this is how much we need, and so this is how much you're going to get. So you can overeat on a carnivore diet, but it is really, really difficult. Like, you will just really not enjoy it. Like, you'll start eating meat and you'll get to a point where, like, I hate this. I don't want to eat this anymore. And some people run into that. They think that, well, this is how much I'm supposed to eat. That's how much I need to eat. And they don't like it. And they're like, I get halfway through and it takes me 2 hours to finish. I'm just struggling to finish it. Well, you were done 2 hours ago then, because your body was screaming at you to stop eating. Like, you don't need this. Stop eating. Don't put it in your damn mouth. Like animals in the wild, I mean, they're not going to do that. They're not just going to be like, just ragey. Like, I'm going to finish this, it's just like, just stop, and so you should do that too. And, again, it is very difficult for your body to absorb fat when you run out of bile. It's very difficult. You can absorb some of it, like, especially like MCT. So the medium chain triglycerides are more easily absorbed without bile, but it's still, a very small percentage of these things get in. So yes, you can overeat fat, but you will get torrential diarrhea for doing that, because so much of it will be coming out that you're going to get very, very loose stools. And you can overeat other things if you're willing to force feed yourself for 2 hours to finish a meal. It's difficult though. And so, you will, yes, if you want to get technical, you're eating less than you technically demand for your biological activities that day. Mm-hmm. But you are not restricting your eating. Your body is restricting your eating by giving you negative feedback when you eat too much. So I would still just listen to that. I would still just only eat meat. If you're not eating carbohydrates, that is, because if you're eating carbohydrates, you are going to derange that. You're going to raise your insulin, you're going to block your leptin, and you're going to increase your hunger signals. And so that's not what you want to do. So this is just, and again, so when I say carnivore, I mean not eating fruit, not eating honey, no carbohydrates, just meat, just water. If you do that, you can listen to your body hunger signals, and your body will take care of everything for you.
100%. Good stuff. We got 608 people in here. If you guys have just joined in, put a Q by your question. We're going to try to get to it. I'm far behind. So, honestly, like the video, share it, subscribe whatever channel you're on. If you're not already subscribed, where you've been, check these guys out. Dave, you guys doing all right, man?
Doing good. I'm just having a bit of a giggle to myself. I love that description of the torrential diarrhea. I think that's quite apt. Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, Dr. Chafee's answer was above my pay grade. So I'm glad you didn't ask me what I thought about that, because I was going to just refer y'all back to his comments.
Well, you mentioned it. I was getting ready to. No, I'm just kidding. It definitely goes back. You can try to overeat. You can try to overeat fat, but you'll have some good stories to tell about it, probably. Oh man, I'm telling you, it's something. Oh,
Yeah.
I know
Don't do
this.
that
This will
anyway.
probably be a long. Do what now? Sorry.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't try that experiment at work anyway. You know.
You have any special advice for? I'm gonna say it wrong. Ehlers-Danlos.
Yeah, Ehlers-Danlos. Yeah, so that's a connective tissue disorder. They don't make collagen, as tight and strong as other people, and so they get hypermobile joints, and they get sort of stretchy skin and things like that, and it can cause a lot of injuries. You can get early arthritis and things like that, just joint pain, dislocations, and things like that, and so it's beneficial for some things. It's a lot of like ballet dancers and things like that, because it would be very, very stretchy as an early kid, so they do well early on, but then they have really bad joint issues in their early 20s, and their careers don't last too long. Those people don't. Special advice for Ehlers-Danlos: eat a lot of meat. And because the thing is that I don't know exactly why, but what I have noticed is that when people with Ehlers-Danlos go carnivore, or just eat a lot more meat in general, their symptoms improve, and they stop getting as many joint dislocations and joint pain. And what I suspect is happening there is that they, if they were left to their own devices making their own collagen, that they aren't able to do that as well. But if you're just eating a whole bunch of collagen and all the precursors for it, you don't need to make your own, because you have all the building blocks right there, and you just make good, strong collagen. And then after a few months, you're going to start replacing out this connective tissue with stronger, better, more healthy collagen, and you're going to see yourself improving symptomatically. So I've seen a number of people online that've told me that they've improved, but I have 3 patients myself that I see in person that with Ehlers-Danlos. And I have a few other patients that I see, as online consultations with Ehlers-Danlos. They are all improving on a carnivore diet. The 3 that I have, with me in person, I've had them longer, and they've all said that they don't have any joint dislocations any longer, right? And so they've improved dramatically on this. One gentleman had a pretty rough case. He was saying that every morning that he woke up, one of his joints was dislocated. His shoulder could be like wrapped around the back of his head, or his fingers are all sideways, or his toe, or his ankle, or his knee, his hip. Like major joints being dislocated every single morning, and that's not fun. After a few months, none. He hasn't had a single one, and then he got sick. He had like a bit of a flu, and so he felt sorry for himself. And he's a farm boy, and so he was just like grew up on porridge and things like that. And so he was just like, well, I'm just gonna have some of that. And so he had some porridge for a week, and all of a sudden he started getting joint pain and a few dislocations. Like, whoop, okay, got to get rid of that. And I went back onto the meat, and then he just threw all of that stuff out, and went to his mom. Was like, you just got to throw this stuff out. This stuff is toxic. This is what happened to me. Just get it out. And so that's what I've seen. So yeah, so just eating a lot more meat. I've spoken to Dr. Sean Baker, and he was saying that he had some patients with Ehlers-Danlos that just by eating a lot more meat, that seemed to improve things as well. So it didn't even need to be full carnivore. I think that it's probably best if you do go full carnivore. But he found that some of his patients were improving just by eating more meat. And I've seen people that go full carnivore actually get complete resolution and aren't symptomatic with Ehlers-Danlos anymore. So yeah, I just keep going. Keto is great. Just make sure it's very high meat-based keto, and vegetables are fine as compared to, carbohydrates. You're going to be in ketosis. That's great. But, just remember, these things have defense chemicals, especially spinach, tons of oxalates and things like that. And so, just because it doesn't have carbohydrates doesn't mean that it's safe, benign, and it's certainly not good for you. I do think that it's best to get rid of all of those things and just eat meat. But keto is definitely a step in the right direction, very strong step in the right direction. And as long as it's very heavily meat based, then I would expect her to keep improving.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I beg my mom to do keto. I mean, as far as, versus the standard American diet, that's what I try to urge people, man. No matter what you do, if keto you can sustain keto, do that, get on it, do something. You're moving in the right direction. Get that ketogenic diet in. Oh, I don't know what your hard cutoff is for today, man. I didn't even ask, but I got so far behind. Why'd you guys let me get so far behind?
Just happened.
It's great.
Whoops.
Struggling for years to stay sober from alcohol. By day 4, eating just beef, all cravings and desire for alcohol are gone.
That's awesome.
Any
Fantastic.
thoughts on why a meat diet can cause relief from addiction? By the way, down 24 pounds in 14 days, been sober since starting carnivore. Man, that's awesome. I just want to say
Yeah.
congratulations to you, first of all. Tell you
Mm.
that is amazing. Being sober, like, I mean, Dave, man, you that's, I'll let you take that one, man, because I mean, that was something that you were doing as well when you came to it, and you got a lot better experience than I have with it.
Yeah, so look, I mean, I would just say to that, I think that, well, first, congratulations,
Mhm.
awesome achievement. But I think the thing with a ketogenic diet is it just seems to give you more self-control.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if it's something that happens, with your mind or something, or it's just the fact that you're satiated most of the time. Whatever it is, it just seems to give you a better feeling of self-control. Dr. Chafee, can you speak to that at all? Do you have any knowledge of that kind of thing?
Yeah, no. So there actually have been studies with ketogenic diets, and of course, carnivore diet is a ketogenic diet, so we can sort of gain a lot of information from these studies that have shown, with specifically alcohol addiction, showing that the people that were going through alcohol withdrawals and struggling with addiction, having with controlled trial, right? So you had 2 groups, and they found that, very interestingly, that the group that was doing keto, that they subjectively, felt that it was, their cravings were far reduced, their desire for alcohol was greatly reduced, just on their self-reporting, and they found that it was easier to come off and to abstain, and most importantly, because when you're coming off alcohol, if you're heavily addicted, it can actually be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
As scary as heroin is, it's actually not dangerous to come off. You just feel like garbage, and but it's not actually dangerous. It's not going to kill you. Coming off benzodiazepines or alcohol, if you're heavily addicted, you can actually go into delirium tremens. You start hallucinating. You can start getting seizures, and you can actually die from those seizures. So it actually is dangerous to come off if you're heavily addicted and you need medications. And so these people were inpatients and they were coming off, and they were heavily addicted. So that's a very good example. It's not just someone who just has a couple of drinks on the weekends going, I should probably stop. These are people that had serious dependency issues. And so they were in the hospital, and they were requiring medication for their detoxification, and to stay out of the DTs. And the group in the keto group needed less medications, right? So it wasn't just their subjective experience, like, oh, I feel okay. Medically, chemically, they needed less help. They needed less medication. So there is something going on there with our brain energy and our brain health and things like that that a ketogenic diet, brain running on ketones, just seems to help. And these sorts of addictions and things like that. Professor Chris Palmer from Harvard has did his book Brain Energy, talking about the mitochondria in the neurons in your brain cells and how that seriously affects psychiatric disorders, but also addiction, substance addiction and eating addictions, and how when you are on a ketogenic diet, this improves the function and number of your mitochondria, and that improves all of these different sorts of issues that people have. And so, yeah, there is actually objective proof that being on a ketogenic diet, which a carnivore diet is the best kind, I think, that this will improve your ability to come off and away from these addictive substances and stay off them and not need them in the first place. And so that's absolutely fantastic. And it is amazing to see that in just that short period of time, you've lost a ton of weight, and you've come off alcohol, and you don't have any cravings, and that's amazing. So that's really exciting, and I'm really happy to hear that you've had that experience, and keep it up.
Awesome. I honestly believe with the overall addiction stuff outside of the, what you just covered, like our body's ability, the way that we get to control when and what we put in our mouths. What we don't get to control is how our body reacts to it. And
Mhm.
so by that being subconsciously effective in our bodies and taking place, our so much in society, people have the desire to never be satisfied with anything. You can never have too much money. You can never have too much power. You can never have too much of all these different issues. But when it comes to your diet, when you put the right stuff in, eventually your body starts making the decisions that you've had enough, and it's really hard to, subvert that system. And so it's really effective at dealing with addictions because you can't overdo that to a certain degree. You may be able to do it short term for a while, but you're not going to continue on and on doing it forever. Your body's going to start, giving you that feedback on it. So I
I'd
think
like to add some of my personal experience as
do it,
well.
brother. Go.
Yeah, I just like to share, like, from me personally. So I quit alcohol. Well, during my youth, I kind of got a little wild, and I picked up some bad habits, and like drinking and smoking and doing some drugs and all that stuff. And of course eating junk food, because I've done that my whole life. I mean, you're not 300 pounds in middle school unless you eat terrible. So I done all those things as well with the drugs and alcohol and the nicotine and everything. So I actually was that I can't speak from it from quitting everything at the same time, but I'll say that I quit everything else even before I came to carnivore. So um that just shows me that how much of an addiction the carbs and the sugar really are, because I was able to quit alcohol, different drugs. I was able to quit cigarettes. And the last things that I was holding on to was my popcorn and my chips and my cookies and my ice cream and all that stuff. And I kept hanging on to that for years and years and years. And now that I've let that go, it's been the best decision ever. So honestly, I feel like for most people, if you can give carnivore a try and you can do this, any other addiction that you might have, most likely you'll be able to take care of it. If you can do this, you can do a lot of things.
Absolutely. Good stuff. I agree, brother.
Well said.
Very good. And a lot of it too, man, is realizing that so many people don't understand that food is not just a necessity, but it is an addiction. It's almost like the light bulb goes off at some point. They realize, oh my gosh, this is an addiction to the sugar and the carb side of it. Yes, you need food. You do not need sugar and carbs. It's just a fact. You just don't. Our bodies can run perfectly fine without them. Anytime our body needs glucose, you have gluconeogenesis that can make that happen out of whatever other materials you're going to give it. So there's always that. I think we got just a few more, and we're going to wrap this thing up. I do want to cover all this, and I know there's a lot we didn't get to, and I apologize. We will be doing it again. I promise. So Christina says, I managed to decrease my blood pressure with carnivore, been off meds for 2 weeks now. However, I started having bad orthostatic hypotension. Any idea why?
Usually that's just well, it could be a couple of reasons, but it can be that you're still on to many medications, right? So if you're on blood pressure medications and your blood pressure is naturally going to start coming down, if you're still taking those medications or you haven't reduced those medications enough, you're going to get the other problem, which is too low, and that's usually orthostatic hypotension is when you stand up and then your blood pressure will drop. It will just change when you go from sitting to standing. And normally your body can sort of adjust pretty quickly so your brain doesn't lose perfusion. But if there's a bit of a delay and it takes like a few seconds longer, then your brain doesn't get enough blood and you get dizzy and lightheaded. So, I mean, people can get that normally. You just stand up too fast and going, oh gosh, I'm lightheaded. This happens to them much more regularly. Often that's because your blood pressure medications are too high. If you are off all your blood pressure medications, then it's dehydration. Would be a combination of both. So I would definitely take a look at your blood pressure medications first. So been off meds for 2 weeks now. That's great. So now address the other thing, which is dehydration. So I would just up the water and just take it a bit easy. Your body's been on these meds for a long time. It's just going to take a little bit of time to readjust to normal life.
Good job though, getting off them blood pressure medicine. I come off one of mine. I got 2 more that I want to come off of that I'm working towards, and my blood pressure is pretty low now. But I remember going on the blood. I had the same problem whenever I went on the blood pressure medication a number of years back. I was still working EMS and getting on the ambulance, and every once in a while I would bend down to do something, job related even, and I would get lightheaded standing back up, felt like I was going to pass out. So, there's always that. Let's see. Did I thought I hit. Did I already read that one out loud? I'll read it again. I thought I did, but I think I passed it. Dr. Chafe, for consults with you, if I did my labs and showed it to you, can you come up with a meal plan based on how I should do carnivore daily and address health issues I have, such as fiber and cholesterol?
Well, I'm certainly happy to take a look at bloods and give some advice on that. It's difficult to give very specific medical advice on those consultations because of just licensing issues. If you're in a different country or somewhere else that it's and I don't have all the information available. It's more difficult to do that, and I'm not too sure how the legalities work if I'm doing a consultation with someone in a different country and all that sort of stuff. So, but at the end of the day, regardless of what your labs are and regardless of what your specific medical issues are, I can give you a meal plan right now. Mm-hmm. Just eat and fatty meat until it stops tasting good, and don't eat anything else. And that's the meal plan. That's going to be the meal plan for everybody in every situation. But if you had some questions about your labs and things like that, would be happy to sort of go through that. But that would be my advice at the end of the day, is that because that's what I think everyone will benefit by. I've said this before, but you won't find an example in nature of 2 members of the same species with different optimal diets. If they have different optimal diets, they are different species, and that's just a biological fact. And so we are not different species. We're all humans, and Homo sapiens sapiens, we are very, very closely related, in fact. And so we are all going to have the same optimal diet, and that's what I would suggest for everybody to be on.
100%. Good stuff. Also, forgot to mention that the reason I am on Carnivore are Dr. Chafee and Dr. Berry. Thank you.
That's great. Well, glad to hear that.
That's awesome. Let me swing back over here and I'll see. I got so far behind on the regular stuff, man. Y'all were supposed to keep me in line better. You guys, we'll have to discuss this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I know there was a lot we didn't get to. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys got something that you can use, something practical that you can apply to every day. That's why we get on here. It's why we share our experiences. We share the knowledge that we do, and we love it, man. So, Kipp, you got anything you want to add before we say goodnight to everybody?
No, I just want to say, stick with it if you're already on the journey, and if you haven't started Carnivore Diet, you should try it. Maybe this video might encourage you to give it a try. There's so many health benefits I've had. Like, I recently found out that I'm not diabetic anymore. I'm not having to take certain medicines. Things are getting better. I don't have to take Tums all the time. So it's working for me, and it can work for you. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Dave, what about you, bud?
Look, just echo Kipp's comments. Just stick with it. You'll find if you just keep testing what you're eating within like a carnivore eating style, you'll eventually find what's working for you, and it is going to do wonders for your health. And also, just like to thank everybody, including Dr. Chafee, for joining us, and everyone for tuning in.
100%. Yeah. Doctor, you got anything you want to add before we call it a night?
No, it's great to to just be here with you guys and hear all your stories as well. And it's always great to have everyone's insight on these sorts of questions, because everyone has a bit of a different input on these things, and can speak from their own experiences, which is also great. I did just want to say one thing. I actually tried to answer this in the chats, but there was a question from a super chat from Taco Phillips, or Fillings. And he said that any info on kidneys, electrolytes, insulin signaling from a fruit-based carbohydrate. So I'm assuming that he means that if you're doing carnivore and you have some fruit and carbohydrates, what's that going to do to your insulin and your electrolyte signaling? It can sort of, there you go. And so it can mess it up, right? Because insulin is involved in sort of recouping electrolytes from the microtubules in your kidneys, right? So it's very complex, but you can find diagrams on where electrolytes go in and out all the way down these little microtubules in the kidneys. And we had to study these for MCATs and then in medical school, but they're horribly complex, and I tend to just ignore them because I just don't care. But insulin is involved in that, but there's so many different areas that these electrolytes go in and out and things like that, and they're not all regulated by insulin. It's just parts of them are regulated with insulin. And so if you are going to start messing around with carbohydrates, so fruit-based carbohydrates are still carbohydrates. You may not absorb as many of them because you're getting some fiber with that if you're eating the whole fruit, and so you're not going to absorb as much fructose and glucose as you would otherwise. But if you're drinking fruit juice, that's a fruit-based carbohydrate. You're gonna just mainline all of that stuff as well, and so your insulin will go up. And then insulin will, tell you to store, pull back more electrolytes. So there's going to be a transition period, and some people notice that there's a noticeable transition period when they're, going keto or going carnivore, and their insulin starts going back to normal levels and actually start losing too many electrolytes. And this is why people sometimes recommend that you should take electrolytes early on in the keto adaptation phase. Practically, from my standpoint, as from what I've seen, I haven't actually seen that really happen. I just tell people, like, hey, look, if you're having a problem, you can take electrolytes, but most people don't have a problem. Your body can regulate these things because you get different signals. Your insulin starts coming down. It's not just down. You haven't just sucked it all out of your body. It comes down gradually, and your body sort of adjusts as you go. People fast all the time, and their insulin goes down to a normal level in 24 hours, and they don't all just get horrible electrolyte disturbances and end up in the hospital, which is what will happen if you get a serious electrolyte disturbance. And so I don't see it practically happening all that much. Our body's pretty damn good at regulating these sorts of things in both directions. So if you're not eating carbohydrates for a long time, or as soon as when you start, your insulin's going to come down. There may be a bit of a hiccup in your electrolytes, maybe for some people, and then most other people won't have that problem. But you can always just take a bit more electrolytes, easy. And then if you start adding in fruit and honey and those sorts of things, if that's your desire, your insulin's going to go up, and you're going to start pulling these things back in again. That doesn't necessarily mean your potassium is going to go too high and you're going to have a cardiac arrest, which is, this is where lethal injection is, right? We anesthetize people and we give them a big dose of potassium chloride, and it stops their heart, right? So if your potassium is too high, it kills you, right? Potassium too low, it kills you. And so, this is a very serious thing. And that's, people are not dropping dead when they fast or go keto and then come back from keto, right? Or come back from fasting. So it's very rare. Your body will regulate this stuff pretty damn well. And because it has to, because you die if it doesn't. And, and we go from, feast to famine all the time. That's just the story of nature, is that sometimes you have access to food and other times you don't. And so your body has to be very, very good at regulating that stuff, and it is. And so, by and large, your body will regulate your electrolytes very well, even if you're eating fruit, and especially if you're not eating fruit. So, I hope that answers that question.
Especially if you're not eating fruit. That's I was like, put the emphasis. No,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's one thing that me and my brother disagree on is the fruit. He does carnivore, but he still keeps the fruit in. But he's healthy. Otherwise, he works out every single day. He was, like I said, I made a video about him earlier. Special Forces. He's retired Special
Nice.
Force. You know, he's in great shape and has been, you know, most of his life. However,
Mhm.
I keep telling him, man, watch that fruit. Fruit gonna sneak you, man. That fruit. But
Well,
anyway,
you know, if you're only eating meat and you're only eating fruit outside of meat, like you're doing better than almost everyone else, and probably feeling better than he's ever felt in his whole life too. So he's just like, how can this be wrong? I feel so much better, and you know, I get that. You know, it might be interesting to, you know, sort of, you know, see if he'll accept, like, just maybe, hey, take a month off, see how you feel, and see if that makes a difference. You want to add back in some, you know, some honeydew melon after that, you know, fine. But, you know, it's, you know, at least, you know, take a look and see what happens.
oh yeah. Well, absolutely, I agree. And I got to have something to get on him about. I mean, he can't do everything right, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No,
Well, maybe you don't want him to come off fruit. At least that's something you can lord over him. Oh, well, you know. Good about that.
That's right. Oh man, this has been awesome, guys. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys being here. Each one of you taking your time and showing up. You know, and we're definitely going to do it again. Thank you guys, all you guys that tuned in, all you guys that are here every week religiously, just, you know, supporting us and everything. All the donations, all the super stickers, all the everything, man. You guys are amazing. Anybody that I've been asked a million times about that. There are ways to donate. You can find them whatever channel you are on right now. If you go into the descriptions, you'll find ways to be able to donate and contribute to the cause, and we appreciate that every chance we get. And you guys don't know how much it means to us to have those things and to try to put out the best content that we can for you. It means a lot to us. But hey, we're going to be back here next week. You guys, make sure you have your questions. Invite a friend to come be with you. Send this to somebody. Share it to somebody that you might think can use it and apply this information. And we will look forward to seeing you guys next time. Like I said, we appreciate you. You guys stay strong and keep pushing forward.